pressure's off. We already had church.
Amen.
So, got a question for you this morning. How's your faith? A story of a house one day that caught on fire. A young boy was upstairs. He was forced to flee to the roof to save his life. His daddy got outside and told his son, "Jump!" But the boy was frozen because all he could see when he looked down was smoke and fire and darkness. His daddy yelled again, "Jump, I'll catch you." He says, "Daddy, I can't see you." Dad says, "You don't have to see me. I already see you." So how is your faith today? Are we like this little boy, frozen, because we see the darkness, the distractions, the obstacles that are in our way? Or do we just jump? I'm going to be honest, in my own life, I've been both. I've been afraid to move, petrified, and I have just jumped. I wound up in Ashland. Okay? Now, this being said, hasn't come without challenges. Job stuff. It seemed like when we moved here, all of our kids started having problems in Texas. Life happens, right? But my wife and I have been praying, and we came to the same conclusion. This is God's questioning us. Are you committed? Are you in this to stay? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still here, and we're not going anywhere. Now, we're going to talk about a young lady that most of us have heard in church for a long time. We were little kids. We heard about the lady that hemorrhaged for 12 years. Mic switch. So I'm going to read 10 little bitty verses, and then we're going to roll with this. "And there came a man named Jairus, who was a ruler of the synagogue, and falling at the feet of Jesus, he implored him to come to his house. For he had only one daughter, about 12 years of age, and she was dying. And Jesus went, and the people pressed around him. And there was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years. And though she had spent all of her living on physicians, she could not be healed by anyone. She came up behind him and touched the fringe of his garment. And immediately her discharge of blood ceased. And Jesus said, 'Who was that who touched me?' When all denied it, Peter said, 'Master, the crowds surround you. They're pressing in on you.' But Jesus said, 'Someone touched me, for I perceive the power has gone from me.' And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him and declared the presence to all the people and why she had touched him. And had she been completely healed. And he said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace.'" Amen. So I'm going to teach you 5 lessons that I learned just from looking at this. Number 1, sometimes ministry comes when you least expect it. Jesus was not on his way to heal the woman. He was trying to get to another situation, and something got his attention. It says in verse 44 there that he was going to see the daughter of Jairus. And things happen. And this happens in our life too. David Amos did not go to the Bob Evans to pray with 20 people. It just happened. Okay? I don't go to Walmart to minister. That's not necessarily my job there, but sometimes it just happens. And I will guarantee you it's almost never going to happen when you're ready for it. You've got to be ready for it. Okay? To be honest, it's not even convenient. It seldom is. So in our walk, we need to do a few things. First, we need to pray for these opportunities. Because if we want this room full, we've got to help fill it. Okay? We've got to be willing to do something when those chances arrive. Too often we're afraid to make a scene or we're afraid of rejection. We won't step in and do it. I'm honest. Sometimes I'm that way too. It's the middle of Walmart, okay? And we have to be flexible to interrupt our lives. We cannot be so focused on the order of service, the mission of the day, that we can't see God giving us opportunities in our life. And all too often, I think we're extremely guilty of this. But very seldom in the life of Jesus was he expecting something to happen. It just happened, and he dealt with it. And at the end of the story, the girl still lived. So it didn't stop his original goal. Number 2, this woman was an outcast. When I was a young man, a young boy, I was in Sunday school, they always showed me the picture of the 75-year-old woman that had bled for 12 years. There's a problem with that. She was probably more like 25. Proof says he calls her daughter. If she had been a more mature woman, we'll use the politically correct term, he would have called her woman. Daughter suggests she was younger than he was. So if he's 32, 33-ish, she's younger than he is. She's a young woman. And why does this make a difference? Because in Jewish custom, that changes everything. She cannot go to temple. She cannot have relations with a man, and she is a virtual outcast. Wow. Imagine that, ladies. Imagine that, guys. But this changed everything because she's like this. And I look at it because what I said here is the woman would be considered unclean according to Levitical law. If you want to read Leviticus, I think it's 15, it'll tell you all about it, what she can and can't do, and there ain't much she can do. Okay? Furthermore, she had tried everything to fix this. It said she had spent all of her money in Mark and that she had gotten worse. Sometimes, I came up with this morning, sometimes sometimes doing things apart from God on your own doesn't make things better. It only makes them worse. But some of the things she may have tried are some of these. These are some I looked up. They would include carrying ashes of an ostrich egg in a linen rag in the summer and in a cotton rag in the winter. That's kind of funny. Okay, how about this one? Dig 7 ditches and burn shoots of grapevines therein, and let her drink wine at each dish. These were medical treatments, folks. How about set the patient at 2 roads at meat, put a glass of wine in her hand, and then let someone slip up behind her and scare her. So this woman had hemorrhaged for 12 years. She had spent all of her money, and she still had the same problem. She was an outcast, she was alone, and she was broken spiritually, financially, and probably relationally. True? So most of us can get this. We come from broken lives, failed relationships, perceived family failures. We've all got that one cousin. Career issues, illness, you name it. We are broken financially, we are broken relationally, and often spiritually. And we've tried everything, but we've had no luck. Okay? But Jesus stopped for this woman. And my friends, he will stop for you. Okay? He deviated from his schedule to attend to that woman. There is no schedule so great in the agenda of Jesus that he will not deviate for one of his children. We need to remember that. Number 3, this woman took a chance. Sometimes in our walk, we've got to take a chance. Wendy and I had to move here. We took a chance. Okay? Basically, she had nothing to lose at this point. She's broke. She's got no family. She's an outcast. She has no choice. But she heard about this dude. And she's like, if I can just touch him in some way, I'll be healed. It's an old Southern gospel song that they didn't sing called God's Going to Fix It. Sorry, Kim. So, okay. Of course, this is easier said than done to touch Jesus, right? We have the Levitical problem and the fact that she was ceremonially unclean. The simple fact that she was in the city presented a problem. If she touched a man in this condition, that could present bigger problems, right? It could lead to a harsh punishment. This could even lead to her death. Yeah. So this is no light thing, just taking a chance, right? But she had this thing. She said, in this moment, her faith was a little bit bigger than her fear. Yeah. Okay? Her faith was bigger than that fear of rejection. Her faith was bigger than what the crowd might think or do. And it was even bigger than her fear of death. When was the last time we felt like that? Okay, so how big is your faith? Are we afraid to exercise it? Are we afraid that our problems are too small for God? Are we afraid that our problems may be too big for God, or just God isn't really paying attention? Or do we take a chance on the one who's never let us down yet, and I don't think he's ever going to let us down? Actually, I know he's not. So, in spite of our fear, we should be determined to receive God's blessing. And sometimes we have to take the first step. Like my grandmother used to say, I know some of the stuff you do, and I know some of the stuff that you're worried about, but I'm waiting for you to tell me so we can talk about it. Yeah. God knows what's going on. Yes. Right. I mean, omnipotent means I know everything. Omnivorous, he knows all this stuff. But like a good father, he wants you to bring it to him so you can address it together. Okay. And so like the woman, we have to take a first step. She grasps the robe of Jesus. Shouldn't we grasp his hand? See, number 3, Jesus took notice. They're in a big city. Everybody's bumping this dude. But she touches him. In verse 45, he said, who touched me? Peter and everybody like, you're crazy. We're in a big city. Everybody's touching. He says, and 2 verses later, no. Somebody touched me. I felt it. I felt the power leave me. So Jesus knew this touch was different, right? This should encourage every one of us, because Jesus listens to our prayers. He understands what we've gone through. He experienced what we experienced without actually sinning. So he gets it. He understands. This should serve as a great comfort, because when we speak to Jesus, he does take notice. He wants to be there. He wants to answer, and he wants to comfort. So when we grab his hand, Jesus takes notice. Number 5, her faith made her whole. When Jesus asked that question, who touched me? And she admitted it. He said right here, and when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling, falling down before him, and declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had immediately been healed. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. She simply said it was her and understood that she had been healed. And Jesus responds that her faith made her well. When we confess our desire for his presence, when that's all we want is to be in the presence of him, he's there. Sadly, I think most Christians give lip service. I'm really sad to say that. We say we desire his presence, but our actions don't reflect that. So is that truly what we want? But when our deepest desire is for him, he's very present in our lives. This lady in the scenario understood this. She understood that if I just touched the man. Yes. She's like, I don't know the man, but I've heard if I just touch the man, I can be healed. She desired that more than her anxiety, worried about it more than the condition she was in, and she cared about that more than the possible consequences. She wanted Jesus. And he was her only hope. My friends, Jesus is my only hope. I cannot do this without him. Okay? And a simple touch of his robe changed everything about her. One experience changed everything. Her sickness, gone. Her loneliness, gone. Her sense of rejection, gone. She was changed. And when he touches your life, when you truly experience Christ in your life, you are changed, my friends. And actually, I got proof here. Moses, the dude was never the same. Okay? The disciples, remember, they were fishermen and tax collectors and whatever. They were never the same. Saul, better later named Paul. This dude wrote 3/4 of the New Testament. Any questions? Let's look over here. Misty, you ain't the same, my dear. You are not the same. Okay? And for us, if we truly have encountered Jesus, or if we encounter Jesus, we are never, never, never going to be the same. And I would actually argue this. If you or someone you know claims to have encountered Jesus and they're the same as they were, perhaps it wasn't Jesus they encountered. Okay? Because a true Jesus experience will radically change your life. And anything else is simply counterfeit. So where is your faith today? This lady in the story should serve as a great encouragement to you. She needed a miracle. She was desperate. She was scared. And she was relegated to the fringe of society. How about us? Lost. Some of us are confused. We're relegated to the second string in life. We've been rejected. We've been told we're not good enough. We got this, we got that. Jesus is the answer. She had nothing left but a chance that this man that she knew nothing about could possibly help her. She believed that if I can only touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. So how about us? We're a little bit dazed. Life got you twisting in the wind a little bit. I know some of us can relate. Are you desperate for a touch from the Master's hand? One of my favorite poems. She touched his cloak. If we desire him, we simply need to grab his hand.